Do you remember in the very first episode of Ted Lasso how he goes out of his way to learn and remember the names of not only his staff like Nate, but also the service providers who serve him on his way like Ollie?
Hey, how you doing? Well, my name's Ted. What's yours?
Ollie.
Ollie, all right.
That's not just good manners, it's good leadership and it's good for well-being. In this episode, we break down how this simple behavior reflects a powerful, research-backed approach to leadership and well-being and some strategies to put it into action yourself. Welcome to Wellbeing with Jesse, where we are on a journey to cultivate a life that fosters well-being for self and others. Let's get right into today's episode. Actually, hang on a second. That's better. Let's begin. In the very first episode of Ted Lasso, you likely found yourself thinking or feeling that Ted is going to be a kind and thoughtful leader who cares about the well-being of others. And it's likely because of two key moments that happen within the first 10 minutes of the show. The first is when Ted and Coach Beard arrive in London and meet the driver waiting for them at the airport, a gentleman named Ollie. And how we know his name is Ollie is that as soon as Ted approaches the driver, he introduces himself, asks for the driver's name, and shakes his hand. Ted then goes on to use Ollie's name and further build that rapport when they make a pit stop to see the Tower Bridge. It reminds me of a quote often attributed to Reverend Charles Bayard Milliken. It's a quote from the early 1900s, and it goes something like this. He will show his goodness in the kindly consideration he shows those less favored than himself. And there's lots of modern examples of this quote, sort of the idea that you can really know the true nature of somebody by how they treat serving staff. Shortly after, in this episode, Ted and Coach Beard get to AFC Richmond where they meet Nate. After a comedic first encounter,
Stop touching the grass! Get off! Get off the pitch! Stop
Oh,
touching the grass! Please!
Yep.
Who are you?
Well, I'm Ted Lasso. This is Coach Beard here.
Oh, God, you're the new manager.
Ted pauses to ask Nathan his name, which comes to a surprise to Nate, and he says, "No one ever asked my name," highlighting that it's uncommon for senior leaders to take the time to learn more junior and entry-level staff names, or simply in general for people to take the time to learn the names of those helping them in various contexts. And this continues throughout the episode, giving Nate a surprise when Ted remembers his name later on in the episode and begins to include him in various conversations. And this isn't just good manners or being overtly friendly and outgoing. This is actually a science-backed strategy for leadership, and it improves well-being for both the leader, Ted in this example, and those they're interacting with, Ollie and Nate. It's what's called pro-social leadership, and it's not something just from TV shows. A real-life example of this is Dr. Paul Farmer. He was a renowned public health advocate and practitioner. We're talking in the highest ranks of public health officials in the world. And yet he was known for stopping in hallways to greet and talk with staff, learning the names of hospital cleaners, cooks, and frontline staff. Many have recalled his presence and pro-social behaviors like learning folks' names as, quote, transformational for morale. People felt seen, respected, and valued as a result of their interactions with him. And in addition to these real-life examples, we also see this demonstrated within scientific studies. In this paper from 2013, the authors found that expressed humility, like demonstrating awareness of others through interpersonal gestures, like greeting by name, enhanced social well-being. They found that, quote, humble leaders cultivate stronger interpersonal bonds by demonstrating respect for individuals through small, validating interaction. Dutton and Spreitzer call this high-quality connections. Brief, authentic greetings and calling folks by name can increase overall life satisfaction when done recurringly. That, quote, the tiniest moments of connection, a greeting, a name remembered, act as sources of human vitality. This holds true across all forms of relationships. Cameron posits that when teachers learn and use students' names, it can increase academic outcomes and psychological well-being and connection. Something happens when you are greeted by name and experience authentic greetings and connection, either as the one initiating or receiving. It can be very powerful and impactful, especially for folks who may not experience it often. And it's important to remember when we're talking about leadership, we're not talking about things only applicable to people in positions of authority. We often confuse leadership with authority, but leadership is about influence, and we are all in positions where we can positively or negatively influence the people around us and ourselves. We shape the world. We make decisions. We express our values. We raise children, care for others, solve problems, create art, resist injustice. This is all leadership. And at the same time, we are shaped by the world. We're impacted by culture, systems, expectations, and the people closest to us. We are led, sometimes well, and sometimes poorly. So if we are always both influencing and being influenced, the question isn't, am I a leader, but rather, what kind of leader am I being, and what kind of leadership am I accepting into my life? That's where well-being comes in. Because when we lead with well-being, when we center health, connection, clarity, compassion, we change the way we influence others and the way we respond to being influenced. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, a friend, or just someone trying to be a good person, you are leading. You're always leading. The only question is, are you leading in a way that supports flourishing for yourself and for those around you? And this lesson from Ted Lasso is a great way to take action towards leading in a way that supports flourishing. So how can we put this into practice? If this feels really awkward, a great way to start is not at your place of work or your social outings, but rather when you are the customer. Lots of cashiers and service workers wear name tags. So one thing you can do is say hello and use their name. They're likely to say something like, "Did you find everything okay?" And this opens the door to respond and use their name. "I did, yeah, thanks. David, is it? Found everything just fine. How's your day going?" It gives you the chance to practice saying someone's name to them in a greeting in a low-stakes environment. It might take them a bit by surprise, but when I was a clerk at a grocery store and folks I didn't know called me by name, I would remember them and remember the interaction because it establishes a connection. From here, it's really about developing the habit. You can tell this is something Ted does naturally and authentically, and that's the goal, is it becomes part of our nature to ask and be genuine in our greetings. I think they nailed this with the writing of the show. And it applies to all of us, as parents being authentic in our greetings to other parents and their kids, in our place of work with new staff or the public, and in social settings. If you're a young person trying to establish a career, get job opportunities, and network, this can really become a superpower if you get comfortable greeting professors, potential bosses, and others you're trying to incorporate into your network with genuine kindness and this pro-social behavior of name learning. And this sets the tone for Ted Lasso. You can tell by this pro-social behavior early on that he is going to be a leader, but more importantly, a person who cares about others and demonstrates it throughout the show. I can't recall how many times I've been chatting with someone about a new show that they're watching. And as they're recommending that I watch it too, they add the caveat that it does start slow. You just need to power through the first couple of episodes. This is definitely not the case with Ted Lasso. It hooks you from the beginning. And I think this is why a strong, genuine introduction. Even though it's fictitious and you're simply watching, it makes you appreciate the connection that Ted is forming with these characters as they're introduced into the show. So let's get out there, learn some names, and connect with our communities. Thank you for watching. It's a privilege I do not take lightly to be here speaking with you today. This is just the beginning of our Ted Lasso Lead with Wellbeing series, and in the next episode, we'll be exploring how positive changes happen with little, meaningful actions. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps, especially being a small channel. And let me know in the comments, what's your favorite leadership or well-being moment from Ted Lasso? Thanks for watching. Talk with you next time.